My guest today is Oleg Caraus. And I know, Oleg, that originally where you come from, you say that completely differently.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us, first of all, who you are, where you live, and, how we see you in the world, really?
Okay. Thank you very much for the question. And thank you very much for inviting me to be a guest on your podcast. I'm privileged. As you said, my original family name is Caraus. And that's how they spell back in Moldova. That's where I come from. I was born in Moldova. And for the first 17 years, I lived there. And then I moved abroad. And now I'm located in Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland, actually.
Beautiful.
And Ireland became my home. And I'm in a relationship with my wife for 20 years now. Both of us we have a beautiful son. Very excited to live in this place and build our family here in Ireland. I worked as a business analyst for quite a while. If I can tell you a little bit about myself in terms of my professional life. I worked as a business analyst for a while. And I always knew that I want something more of my life because I was in this professional development. I was studying about myself. And when I found three principles, I learned so much about who I am and what thought is. And then something clicked in me. Maybe I will share with you an insight later on about what happened there. And I started my own business 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. And I worked around four pillars, which is understanding, creation, action, and results. And this type of work helped me to help other people to see for who they are. And as I told you, my four pillars, I don't use them always. Sometimes I just go with the flow, what the person wants. For instance, if we go for understanding, it means to me, what means to a person to understand who they are is seeing from within. That life happens from within, that thought is the main source of our feelings and our understanding of the world. And then creation, how creative we really are. We can create with thought and feelings in the same moment. That's what the creation piece is all about. And then action without fear, because many people are afraid of taking action. And that movement, when movement happens, we learn more. We find out what we want in life. The focus shifts better. And the results can be different from so many people. Results can be, I have more time with my family. I have the freedom I always wanted. So results is different for different people. That's what I found from my experience. So that's a little bit about myself and what I do at the moment.
So would you say that the four pillars are sort of areas that you want people to understand? Rather, you said that you don't always do that with people, obviously.
Yes.
Because you like people to come and you experience them and then you sort of naturally follow something, don't you? So I guess your four pillars, what you're saying, they underpin everything that you're trying to show someone.
Yeah, the four pillars can be applicable and not applicable at the same time. What I mean by that, sometimes a person wants just to get rid of this stressful thinking, get rid of that nagging feeling of being insecure, of not knowing themselves. And sometimes a person wants to have vision, strategies, accomplish more, get done. And in those moments you readjust what the person wants and you work from that place. Those pillars help me just to focus more. And for instance, if a person comes to me saying, I want to deliver this amount of money, obviously we will discuss it. We will look at the vision, what's the strategy, and we will go from that place. You know what I mean? It all depends on the person, what the person wants. But understanding is crucial. Understanding is the main thing. Otherwise, without understanding, you will not accomplish that what you want. You may go in the wrong direction. That's what I want to say, literally. Because when the person understands who he is, he aligns with that what he wants more. For instance, a person may come and ask me, I want more money. I want to get this business in that direction. And we can put that a stop for a while and then discuss why do you want that and find about yourself more.
Yeah.
And what are the struggles? What are the struggles? How those struggles are created?
Yeah.
And when the person understands that, the result may change. The direction shifts.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That's why I put those four pillars in front of people, because they can have an idea what the business, what I'm working with.
I love that, because you're absolutely right that if you don't know really who you are, the intention then that you go after things, like just for example, somebody wanting to create a business.
Yeah.
If you don't know really who you are, we tend to use the wrong intentions for having that business.
Yes.
When you know who you really, really are, you're doing it completely authentically, and it's something
Yes.
you're creating and moving towards because it feels completely right.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%.
Yeah. So what I was interested in when I spoke to you before was that you went through some learnings before the three principles,
Yeah.
and those were NLP and those sorts of things.
Yes.
So how did you and why did you move from your first set of tools to this understanding?
Oh, okay. Thank you for the question. A good question, actually. When you were asking, you brought me back in time. When I started this journey, I wasn't to this positive thinking mind. I was studying a little bit positive psychology. So I was positive. I wasn't letting any negative feeling affect me. I wasn't listening to TV. I wasn't hanging out with people who talk about negative stuff. So basically, I was creating positive corners. On work, I had my positive corner. At home, I have everything, positive quotes everywhere, just to remind me how positive I should be. And at first, I thought it works because I was excited almost all the time. I was exercising regularly, by the way. I think at some level helped me. But at the same time, I wasn't always afraid of something. I was afraid that someone was going to tell me something negative, and I was always in fixing mode. I was trying to fix everything in my life.
Yeah.
I was studying almost 8 hours a day, listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, reading. So I was in this frame of mind to find more. Let's find more about it. I was going holidays, and holidays I was relaxing. So I was feeling guilty. Why I'm not studying? So I shouldn't take this break. So I always was in this feeling of fear of something happening one day. I will be different. And when I was doing NLP as well. So I was using all the techniques. I was going in the car. I was creating places where I sit and the hour. I was doing different kind of crazy stuff because that's what I was taught. That's what I thought it going to work. That's what I thought it works. And then when I discovered three principles, I had an insight, aside from within, which was, you're okay the way you are. Your thought creates your feelings. And when I saw that, I was a social smoker at that time. I was smoking socially, and when I saw how thought impacts everything what I do, I wasn't able to smoke anymore. I was free from that, and I didn't do anything. So, and I started thinking, look, I used all my techniques just to do something, and here I'm not doing anything, and everything shifts. So it's something up, it's something in this understanding. That's why I come back to understanding who we are and how thought creates our reality, I think is the key. And that's why my main work is based on that. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is that before it was all about fixing, controlling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And this insight or this way of understanding is far more about when you get something, when you see something, when you really truthfully understand it from your body, rather than just analytically sort of figuring it out, that we fundamentally change.
Yeah, you described it beautifully. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what I saw, and I know that a lot of people listening to this won't understand what the three principles are, and we can talk a little bit about that, but maybe we can just keep on that subject of insight,
Of course.
because that, I think, when people see how important that is, that they're more interested in looking for that, because it does happen naturally to people all of the time, but they sort of don't really realize it, do they?
No, obviously, yeah.
And
Uh,
you have a beautiful podcast that you've just started called The Power of Insight. And
yes.
I think that is so important for people to hear, people's experiences in life, what their insights were. So when you had that insight about everything's being created within you from thought, can you explain that a bit more about what do you mean about that everything is created from that? I'd love
Yeah.
it.
Thank you for the question. Thought on its own is neutral. Thought coupled with love has a creative power. For instance, thought is creating, but in order to bring it something in the world, you need that feeling of love, emotion of love. Emotion is motion, an energy of motion. That's how I see it. And is
Yeah.
clear to you?
Yeah.
So when a person feels something good about a thing, for instance, I want to create my business, right? But I feel like, oh, I'm not serious enough, and I don't feel like I can do something out of, I can have I can make a difference in the world. So my business will be different than if I love what I do, if I'm engaged with each action I'm engaged with each action which I have in front of me. For instance, this podcast I have, Power of Insights, is born out of love. Actually, I was in a quiet space and just sitting and looking around and paying attention what's going on. And I had an idea. Why not start a podcast? And that's when I contacted someone, Anka, Anka,
Mm-hmm.
and we started from there. So the podcast itself was born out of an insight, because I felt like I want to share with people what I went through. And I am sure that other people feel the same. Other people have the same kind of insights, changes in their life. And I want to create an environment where we can share that with the world. And that's how what the podcast is born. So that's how the creation happened. A thought, a feeling of love towards helping someone, helping myself as well. And that's how the creation occurred. I hope that makes sense to you.
It does make sense to me, and then we have the opposite to that, don't we?
Yeah.
Where we as human beings, that we create thought and we're experiencing that thought, and so what you're saying, I believe, is that thought is neutral. It
Yeah,
just depends what feeling or whatever we attach to that.
exactly.
So if I think that I'm not good enough and that makes me feel bad,
Yeah.
what would you say about that?
Oh, feeling bad is completely normal. I feel bad almost every single day because that's the flow of life. So feeling bad is that feeling has so much information in it. I quite enjoy feeling bad sometimes, or it's weird to say something like that, because when I feel bad, I just stay with it and stay with it without understanding, just watching what's happening, watching that feeling arises, and I welcome it. I love the feeling. I don't use that language, but you know what I mean. I just look at the feeling, and the more I do that, the more I'm not afraid of my feelings. You know what's interesting? They go away, or I spend less time with that feeling. For instance, next time when I have a feeling of fear, I won't play with it anymore. Okay, welcome. For instance, starting this podcast, I may felt some insecurity or a little bit of fear, but yeah, it was part of the flow, part of nature. Will be strange from my perspective not to feel anything, coming and being in front and being a guest on your podcast. And yeah, I never complain about any feeling. I welcome everything what's available to me. What's happening is not a problem for me.
So for many, many people in the world, it is a problem.
Of course. That's why we struggle. That's why this struggle happens, because we try to control everything. We try to control the feelings. We try to control our life. And that's what creates this unwell kind of insecure kind of feeling within us.
So when somebody feels that they're not good enough and that's what they feel,
yeah,
they will try and fix that. They'll try and fix it inside themselves by playing around with their thoughts and trying to come up with solutions to that.
Exactly.
And they'll also try and control the outside world to make themselves feel more comfortable. So what you're saying is that it is normal for all human beings to have all sorts of feelings.
Yes.
And
normal.
Yeah.
More than normal. It's a must.
It's a must.
Of course, you should enjoy all your feelings. Why? It's a gift. Why should you be run away from that gift? People are talking about gratitude. That's gratitude. I am happy to feel sad sometimes. I'm grateful that I can experience something like that instead of running away from it. No. I'm grateful for feeling fear before starting this podcast. I'm grateful for sometimes misunderstand what life wants to provide to me. For instance, today it's raining the whole day and it's dark outside. I'm grateful for this kind of weather. People are complaining about the weather a lot in Ireland, but you know what? I love it.
And I just love what you're saying about that. It is just that process that
exactly.
We haven't got into, about how we as human beings have something within us that has the ability just to create, and that means create thought. That thought comes into our minds, we experience that, but the misunderstanding in the world is that we don't have to do anything with that. We can experience it and allow it to move on as it does, as every feeling does.
Yeah.
So, and taking that one further then is, so when people suffer from mental health issues and worries, that it would be true to say that we always go back to our natural state, and our natural state is good mental health.
Yes, 100% agree with that.
So when we lose our minds, as I call it, when I get caught up in all my thinking and I get anxious or depressed or sad or whatever it is, if I just leave that alone and just experience it, I naturally go back to my fantastic mental health that I was born with, because it's innate.
It is innate, yes. So is there a question? What question?
You can answer that.
Okay. How I see that, when someone like this approaches me, I just look at him, and if the person is in front of me, I can give a hug first. I can give a hug and then say, you okay? And I will ask, what part of you are suffering? Is your hand suffering? Is your heart suffering? What is suffering? Where is the sufferer? So, and they may not find the sufferer. So, and they may realize that the sufferer is made up. We create a person who is suffering. But if you put that person aside for a while and look at ourselves, go in the mirror and forget all the thoughts, just look at yourself. And you'll see that you're okay.
Okay, but that's so interesting that you say that, because so if I was suffering and you asked me who was suffering, I would say me.
Show me which part of you
is me.
Where? The me itself is made up
in my mind.
Exactly. So it's a thought. Even the me is a thought.
Yeah. That's lovely. Yeah, that's a really important thing for, I hope that people who listen to this really get curious about.
Yeah.
That what is this me that we think we are? Because that's not who we are.
Marian, you brought me back again to a memory when I studied 3 principles, as you know, and I thought I understand 3 principles, right? But I never paid attention that I had a person watching it. For instance, if I had I was suffering for something, I was thinking, it's a thought. Oh, that's a thought. But I never paid attention. Who is telling me that a thought?
Yeah.
A thought was telling me that this is a thought. So then I understood there is not Oleg here.
Mm.
It's just energy of life flowing through.
Mm.
And I am that field of energy created in this moment.
Yeah, because from a really young age, actually, I noticed, some people call it the observer, but I just called it always another me behind me. And
I like that.
Yeah.
A bigger me.
Yeah. And that me just noticed what I was saying, what I was doing, what my actions were, what other people were doing. And it was just this, I was fascinated that I watched me. And then I started, as I got older, wondering who that was.
Mm.
Because that was separate to me.
Wow, that's can you elaborate what you mean by it was separate from you? It's interesting for me.
Yeah, because I just noticed that the observer, that part of me that watches it all, is not me. It doesn't even feel like me. It feels like something separate in a void behind me somewhere, just watching me, the human, the Marion, saying things that she doesn't mean, putting herself down, thinking she's great, she is, just all this stuff was going on. But this quiet, beautiful voice was behind me, just watching and noticing all of that.
Wow. Thank you for sharing, Marian. And I will invite you just for that big me to realize that the thought is a thought too.
Mm.
That big me is a thought too.
Yeah.
So you are even bigger than that big me.
Mm. Mm. But that isn't then what you're saying, that isn't the essence of who we are.
Who we are is beyond our understanding even.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We make a lot of stuff up just in order to try to explain what's going on. But the real truth is beyond what we can understand. You know what I mean?
So if you did have to explain that to somebody though, Oleg, really simply.
Yes.
In the only words that we can find as human beings, how would you explain who we really are?
I always give my answers very straight, and I should maybe think and maybe do it better.
No, be authentic.
Be more authentic, yeah. What I'm gonna say is the idea of Oleg doesn't exist. Our leg itself having problems, trying to have fear, speaking. All of what I've said is just a made up story.
Yeah.
Because who I am is who you are, is the universe itself. We're just figments of our imaginations. I'm talking with myself right now. So it's the only thing what's happening. That's it. That's how I see it, to the core.
You're saying that we're pure consciousness.
We're pure consciousness, exactly. We are the consciousness itself. And the rest is just the playing. It's a game.
Yeah. It is, it's the game of life.
Exactly. And if you pay attention, what I'm saying is, then the question has to be, if I am you and you are me, where is the sufferer? There is no sufferer. It's just a game. If you forget that the suffering itself is a game as well.
I'm going to quote this incorrectly, but I heard Jamie Smart say, we are a spiritual being. We are one spiritual being having 7 billion experiences.
Exactly. That's beautifully put.
And I believe that is true when we really look at the nature of who we really are.
Yeah. We are one being, 7 billion experiences. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not the experiencer. We are being experienced. If you put it a different way. So we went quite deep today. I didn't expect to go that deep.
I love a deep conversation.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So just to finish with, I would love to just bring it back again to this thing about people discovering their authentic self. Now, most people are not going to go out and start understanding consciousness and all of that. So the way that I talk about who I really am, or who am I when I'm being authentic? When I'm being authentic, I am in touch with the essence of me, and I'm being honest about that. I'm speaking honestly. I'm honest with people, and it's a quality of feeling that I have when I'm sort of in alignment, as I call it.
I like that. Yeah.
How would you describe about yourself or about other people, actually, about how you see them when they're being authentic? So we can point them in that direction.
Yeah. I don't try to see if a person is authentic, because, as I said, it's a happening. I accept that the way they are. But if they want to be authentic, I will find out who you really are. And from that place, you can find yourself. Because sometimes you put in situations, for instance, I can give you an example. My wife asks me, do you like this dress? And I have 5 minutes, just we have to leave. And I will say, no, yes, I like it, but I don't really. So it means I'm not that authentic in that moment. It depends on the circumstances. And on this podcast, I want to be authentic with the world. That's I can, you know what I mean? They good and bad. You have to be authentic all the time, obviously, but sometimes I'm not. So I can see that in myself. So I'm not going to tell somebody you have to be authentic. I just do your best.
Yeah.
Do your best.
Yeah.
If you promise something, if you do that, keep your word. Your word is the most important thing you've got.
Yeah.
The way you communicate, your language and stuff like that. So
speaking from your heart.
Speak from your heart, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a lovely place to stop.
Exactly. The best place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oleg, I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope other people, other people do. I'm sure they will. So thank you so much for sharing your insights. And how do people find you?
Oh, people can find me through all the social media. I'm on Facebook, I am on LinkedIn, I am on Instagram. My website is olegcaraus.ie. And I have a second domain, which is directed to my podcast, which is powerofinsights.ie. And I will send you the links, and you can add them.
They'll be on my website if anybody wants to.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Oleg, and have a great weekend.
Thank you very much as well. All the best.